getting cold. Volleyball's getting hot. Let's get it going. Mike Leanfelter, Rendo Gardner.
We talked about semi-states last week. The 1A North, Hauser ended up pulling it out. Or no, that's the South. Sorry, Hauser took down Bar Reeve 5-15-13.
Two tradition-rich teams. We said it was going to be a war. I'm not surprised at all. Hauser, good little team, always is. Bar Reeve always is good. That whole group, I mean, you looked at the four teams we said last week, Hauser, Bar Reeve, LCC, and Pioneer, all tradition-rich programs. At this time of year, it's who's playing best, who's healthiest, who gets a break. There's so many things that go into it, especially a five-game match. Five-game match, it can go either way. Congratulations to Hauser. Congratulations to Bar Reeve on another. They've had about 400 in a row, but another great year.
Yep. LCC out of the North sweeps Pioneer. One of the games was single digits.
They're just LCC's big and physical. We'll come back and talk about them in a little bit, but LCC's, they're the pride of the class. 1A. We said that at the start of the season. Nothing's changed in my mind yet, but LCC is a big physical team. Too physical for the folks in 1A right now. I think that success ratio, those guys are going to get kicked out in a couple of years because they're just dominating.
Yep. And then 2A North, Andrean, one of our favorites at the start of the year, swept Alexandria. It seemed like they handled it pretty well.
Well, you referenced early on, they dropped down from 3A to 2A, and that's kind of a common theme here. Same thing with Newcastle a little bit later in the telecast, but Andrean, big physical athletes again. Really too much for Megan Miller to overcome. Megan Miller, there's a solid little Alec team, but Megan Miller is her go-to, and as Megan goes, so goes the team. And just too many physical kids. All the reports I got out of that semi-state was Andrean was unbelievably gifted athletically.
Yeah.
We thought that coming in, and Alexandria can attest to it now.
Yeah. The other half, we talked about CAI, pulls out a barn burner 5-15-13 as well.
You like to call it an upset because Covenant Christian had done so well all year long. And I think it would be, I guess, when you look at records and who they played and whatnot. But, Christian Academy winning doesn't surprise me. The Stumbler factor comes into play there. At this time of year, we've talked about it. The best players rise. Programs that these guys, all they've done is been at state championships the last couple of years. It makes a difference, and sometimes at this time of year, the guy that just doesn't want to go home has an edge, and Stumbler doesn't want to go home. Stumbler's got unfinished business. We'll talk a little about Stumbler, a little bit later in the show as well, but that's a great match. Covenant Christian, a tremendous season along with Alec, and nothing to drop your heads about. Andrean and CAI head towards the championships in Worthing. It's cool.
3A North, we talked about Newcastle. They took down the Fighting Andersons, the Mishawaka Marians.
The Mishawaka Marian, great little ball club, but to be really honest, Newcastle is way too much physicality, way too much talent. They're a matchup nightmare. Buff is going to find that out, and Brian Murray's a great coach, but he's going to have to figure out a way to slow down the Shaftmaster clan.
Yeah.
6'2", 6'3", and an awful lot of talent. So you're going to have to really get a feel for how good those guys are. Marion, once again, another great season for them and Anderson. Just not enough net strength to hold off the two Shaftmasters.
Then we talked about the 3A South. Got a lot of pub on Twitter.
Oh, boy.
We had a couple newspaper.
Yeah, I tell you what, those of you that live down in that part of the state, Greg Mingelt is the sports editor. I believe it's at the Times and Tribune in Sellersburg, and what a great journalist. Good guy. Got a chance to communicate with him a little, and he is really a talented. One of the things I noticed in Muncie when we lost a couple of really good writers is the amount of volleyball, or even high school sports for that matter, but volleyball publicity and/or writing, it dropped off tremendously. And this guy still gets it. He is a great high school sports guy and writes a really good article. I questioned my call at Brebeuf over Silver Creek. Silver Creek did have the better record. Silver Creek
did beat them earlier
in the year, and Silver Creek, I said they had a tougher schedule, and that's always debatable.
Yep.
But the one thing I'll tell you, Jeff Zimmerman's a great coach. Brian Murray has been there. He's been to the state championships. He's won state championships, and there's something to be said for that. This Brebeuf team is probably a year ahead of schedule. We called them to be in the state championships at the start of the year, the first show. But I think that was a difference maker. Sometimes just having a feel. Sometimes you can just get a little edgy.
Yep.
The first time that Silver Creek was there, they got a little bit edgy per Zimmerman's call. He said that they're a different team now. And the other thing about that match, we talked earlier today, Brebeuf did lose to them in 4, but it was one of those crazy matches, like 26-24, 28, 26, 33, 31. That's one dead ball away from being a different match. One serve out of bounds, a different match. One referee's call, a different match. You can't put a whole lot on 2-point games, and you can't put a whole lot on guys that have been in state championship runs and have won state championships. That's a big thing. Zimmerman will win one because he's an awfully good coach, and he has nothing to regret on this season, nor does Mr. Anderson, who's a legendary coach. Great seasons by Marion and Silver Creek, Brebeuf, and Newcastle. Move on.
4A North, Crown Point takes down Yorktown in 4.
Shocker. Shocker. Yorktown, all they had done all season long was be clean. No errors. No errors. I mean, probably the cleanest team in the state. The big kryptonite for them was going to be if it became a net game. If the game was played on the net, then they're at a big disadvantage because of size. They right that a little bit with athleticism and speed, but net is a huge issue. Mackenzie Knuckles is a tremendous talent at Yorktown, and maybe as good as anybody in the country from the 10-foot line back in regards to ball handling and passing and attacking. Chacon is about a 6'2" Knuckles.
Yep.
And, when put on the nets, it's a matchup nightmare for Yorktown. The folks from Yorktown that I spoke to, he said simply, the Crown Point played a great game.
Yep.
At this time of year, sometimes that happens. Chacon has something going for her that I think is really important. There's another Chacon there. There's sisters, and it'll be the last time they ever play together. And you don't want that to end. It's the will to stay the course, or the will to win, is massive at this point. And you can almost maybe Chacon wanted it more than everybody. You don't know. Unfortunately, Yorktown plays one sloppy game in the entire season. The folks at Yorktown have nothing to bow their head. The 3 losses on the season: Avon in the state championship, Crown Point in the state championship, Newcastle in the state championship. That's a tough season ender for those guys, but a great season nonetheless. Yorktown loses one senior. Don't be surprised that next year, season 5, go through massive lineup changes. That's hard to get redo your lineup, especially when you're talking a piece of the pie like that.
Yep.
Her sister Marissa is one of the best players in the state, bar none. And to be honest, Marissa Hornet, Chacon, Stumler, I wouldn't be surprised if the Gatorade Player of the Year came from one of those 3.
Yep.
And so you're talking great athletes, and Horning's the only one that's going to be not at the big dance, really, at the end of the season. That's unfortunate. She, losing her shotgun rider hurts him a little bit. And Avon is just too strong. Everything's got to go right to beat Avon. And, losing a star is not right.
Yeah.
So, Terry Perica, another great season. The 2 3A guys that moved up because the success ratio were right on the doorstep of going straight into the 4A title, which would have been cool.
Yeah.
It really would have been cool. It would have been a great story. 2 great coaches, 2 great programs. Both are going to be able to watch this one. And, I know that neither are happy, but both those teams will be back. That's what champions do. A great season, Providence, Yorktown, Avon, Crown Point, move on.
Yep. All right, talking about it, this show's not going to be as long as normal just because we're coming to the end. The Courtside state final show. So we're talking about 1A. It's 11 o'clock start. LCC versus Hauser. like you've been talking about the whole time, LCC, you got to be the favorites.
They are the favorite. They are the favorite, and I'll also tell you, usually the longest match of the day is the 1A match. It's usually a very long opening match. They just, they go toe to toe almost always, and Hauser's not backing down from anybody.
No.
They have a great history. LCC has got the better history as of late, and really on the verge of creating a legacy. They're always bigger and more physical. I think LCC would be favored, and I think LCC is probably the team to beat. In my mind, I think they win this.
Yeah, I agree. Like you talked about just how deep they are, how big they are, and nothing against them. I mean, Pioneer, but they were in cruise control. I mean, 25-7 is the second.
Pioneer's a good club.
Yeah,
good club. So LCC, this should be an interesting battle, but I think LCC has got a decided advantage, and I would be shocked if they don't.
Yeah. And then the 2A will be 2 hours later. It's supposed to be a 1 p.m. start, and it's in Drayan. We talked about those guys coming down from the 3A to 2A. And CAI, the Stumbler crew, trying to avenge their loss from last year. They lost in the final.
We called Drayan at the start of the season to be at the top of the 3As, or 2As, I should say. I hate betting against Stumbler anytime because she's a magnificent player, magnificent person, probably just as good off the court as she is on. I think the Drayan team, too many weapons, too many athletes, an awful lot of load to carry. Miller is an insane, talented athlete, but she couldn't carry that load. Stumbler, a little more of a net presence than Miller, but I think it's going to be difficult for her to carry that load as well. I think that Drayan just a few too many weapons in that one.
Yeah, and 100% agree with you on that. Just because Miller, like you talked about, a heck of a player, just not enough firepower. Same thing I think with Stumbler, but physical.
So those two communities, Hauser and CAI's community, I only thought there were 5 or 6 people actually watching this show. I was a little shocked when I was called out in the local newspaper for one of my picks. I do respect the fact that they deemed me an expert. I thought only I deemed myself an expert, but
Munciana Courtside volleyball.
Nothing against either of these teams. Are great teams. I just think that LCC and Drayan just have a little too much firepower. It doesn't really matter. It really matters on that day. It's about who gets their nerves under control first. It's about who gets settled first. It's about whose protocol and routine going into it hasn't been altered.
Yep.
There's so many crazy things that go on, but
outside of all,
looking at numbers, that's where I would go.
Yep. Yep. All right, 3A state final should be around a 3 p.m. start.
Yep.
Newcastle are the north, and then Brebeuf.
This is
we predicted both of these. We said sectional 24 and Brebeuf.
Yeah, I thought either Newcastle or WAP would be against Brebeuf, and that's the only one we did narrow down. Newcastle took out WAP in a brutal sectional game and rolled all the way through. Shaftmasters, Melanie and Mabry Shaftmaster are real matchup issues. Melanie in particular because of the fact that she's a setter. When you get a 6'3" setter that is really just looming over top of you, she can create some issues that you're not used to seeing. I mean, she's the only setter of that magnitude in the state.
Different
and so from a preparation standpoint, it's very difficult. Whether it's her attacking her, setting balls that traditionally would be 2 feet over the net as overpasses, that changes the complexion of the game. So the mix here is Newcastle is a matchup nightmare. Brebeuf is in a good spot because Brian Murray is kind of a matchup guy. He's a very good coach. Shaftmasters on one end, Murray on the other. There's a little give and take. The good news in this one, no communities here will be writing letters. I do the television for this game. Thus, I can't predict who's winning this game, who isn't. I can't tell you. It's going to be a really intricate matchup of teams, coaching-wise. There's some things that you got to look at. Murray obviously has a huge edge because he's been there multiple times. Shaftmaster, you'd look and say, well, have any of those guys ever been to the state championships? They haven't, but Shaftmaster's won 3 consecutive national championships at the club level, so she understands winning. It's going to be, you really come down to, once again, who can get in a rhythm. And out of these two teams, who makes the most unforced errors? Newcastle, high unforced error team. They're going to have to bring that total down a lot, because I can guarantee that Rebuff will come in with the serving plan that will really force Newcastle out of their rhythm. Don't be surprised to see a lot of short serving in that game.
Yeah.
Who's your winner there? You get to pick.
Yes, my thought on it, just watching Newcastle over the span of the year, Bailey Cox, I think, is pretty underrated, along with Zoe and their ball control. And I'm going with Shat Masters. Twin Towers bringing it home.
All right, that's interesting. It's interesting. We'll see. It should be. I hope it's a great match. Yeah. We'll see.
The 4A final, we got Avon out of the south. We got Crown Point out of the north. It should be around 5 o'clock starts. The finale of the state championships.
Crown Point is kind of this. I shouldn't say surprise. I think we took Yorktown coming all the way through to go against Avon. But the other thing on the show, and I've had several people text me, is that I've been big time on Crown Point's bandwagon all year long. It's a team that you would love to coach. They've got collegiate size, and like I said, Chacon flies all over the place. Going to play beach at Florida State, I believe, but her game is so. When you're looking for great athletes or great teams, great athletes are physically loose but mentally tight, and that's her.
Yeah.
She's physically loose. She just kind of flies around and rips it, but she's mentally pretty locked in. Big right side, big strong middles. The setting, I would probably say, I'd give you right away, Avon has a setting advantage there. Backcourt, I may go with Avon because of their ball control. On the left pin, I give it to Crown Point. In the middle of the court, it's close. Johnson's probably the best of the four.
Yeah.
But Crown Point may be 2 and 3 out of those
four.
So they may have the edge. That may be the best part. And the right side of the court is a great matchup. Yelich and Eastridge. I mean, it's going to be really good stuff.
Yeah.
I think that, for Crown Point, they're going to have to get settled in a hurry. Great coach. I love her. She does a beautiful job. But she's going to have to get these guys settled in. What they got going for them is they were there a year ago. They know where their locker room is and more. Then they know what the court looks like. They've been there. They just fell to a really good Cathedral team. But this is a very athletic team. Avon, probably more volleyball experience.
Yeah.
Eastridge, Johnson, Goins. I mean, McQueen. McQueen's been there multiple times, and McQueen has won one. I think that, like I said, the key to this is going to come down to ball handling. Can Crown Point put enough service pressure on Avon to keep them out of the middle of the court and on the right side? So much of Avon's offense is generated in the middle, Johnson in the right with Eastridge. You have to traditionally have a little better serve reception to be able to utilize those players. Their greatest strength at Crown Point is on the left pin. Probably the only place where you would question, and not that they're not good, but you would question their ability to get in and out of trouble, maybe on the left side for Avon. So the key to victory for Crown Point, they got to serve the tar out of it. The key to victory for Avon is they got to pass it. They got to pass the ball. If Avon passes, I've said all year long, if Avon's in system, Darren Goins is as good as anybody. And she's going to be all state. You'll see that come out in a couple of days. She's going to be as good as anybody. I mean, she's as good as anybody at this level, and she's going to be very good at the next level when she goes to LSU. If they give her the ball and she's allowed to orchestrate an offense with those guns, a couple of those guns in particular, I don't know, man. That can be tough. It's a serve pass game. So we play 3 months, and we come down to, this is my brilliant statement. Whoever serves it best, whoever passes best is going to win this dog. First ball contact war, service pressure for Crown Point, Avon's ability to pass the ball. We'll see how it turns out. Goins is back. Little Goins, Asia Goins is back in the lineup now. That's going to help them quite a bit. But once again, I'm doing the TV for this one. I can't make a call on this one. So what do you got?
I think it's going to be the best match of the day. I think it goes.
I think it could be really. It's a Division I matchup. I mean, these teams are both physical enough to look a lot like college teams.
And the heavyweight fights goes to the team that's going to pass the ball well enough. It's going to be a
Wow. Speedy McQueen. Speedy McQueen
bring
takes
it home another time.
It should be interesting. I think that all four matches have reason to get excited. All four matches have some things that intrigue you.
To be there.
Yeah, and you know what? Hopefully you guys pour into Worth. And it's interesting. There's no Delaware County presence, and usually that's one of the reasons there's such a big crowd, because the locals are all there. I hope the state really realizes what they've got, and they pour into Worth and in droves to support these 8 fine teams they're going to be battling out starting at 11 o'clock on Saturday morning. But if not, there's televised options to watch as well as radio. But tune in, because I think it's going to be a heck of a day. We will see you at the final courtside next Monday, and
Final top 10.
Final top 10. We'll see how it rolls. Until then, take care.